Live. We
Yeah.
are live. Hello, everybody.
Hello.
Hello. Hello, Melissa.
Hello. It's late night here. Well, it's 9 o'clock. That feels late to me.
Chicago, it's 7 o'clock. I'm in California right now. Just had a lovely day here in Southern California. And yeah, we wanted to talk about money.
Yeah. One of my favorite topics.
I know, totally, totally. And I have a getting out of debt joyfully class coming up next week, which is I just love the title of it because it's like, what? you know? And some of you may have read the book by Simone Melissa's Getting Out of Debt Joyfully. She has this amazing story. Really, part of her money story is that she was $187,000 in debt and used the tools of access consciousness to get out of debt really fast, like insanely fast, and fast in a way that you're not really supposed to make that happen in this reality. And I've seen that with the tools of access consciousness and joy of business. Like I've seen, hello, Nancy. Hello, Michelle. Hello, everybody watching. Seen the, for me, it wasn't about having a huge debt and getting out of it, but it was about like doubling my income and then doubling it again and doubling it again. And, like just this like exponential growth of my income that, I started to be able to create when I, started using the tools of access consciousness. And I know you have a similar, thing that you've done, Melissa.
Yeah. Yeah. And so for me, I had I still have, let's be honest, a lot of student loans to be a psychologist. And, it was just like stupid amounts of loans. And I was really I realized at some point that I was sort of creating my life based on these loans. And one of the reasons I got into access consciousness was that I started like going, okay, well, what else is possible here, before I knew that was a thing. And, and looking at like, I'm never going to pay these off, or I'm going to be paying on them, like be in debt to this forever. And at the job I had, like doing what I did, it was like I was always going to be in this energy of being in debt to that. So I started looking into like, what else could I do? And it became this sort of motivator to like, okay, like that's kind of like I needed a reason to like make more than I was making. And so like I was like, okay, well, if I was like really choosing my life, like I what could I actually do to create beyond this debt? And I'm this book and this class, actually I'm really excited to take this class next week, because the book was one of the first books I read in access consciousness. And it was so like Simone's energy in the book was so like, yeah, of course you can get out of debt. Here's how you do it.
She's good like that. I love
I was like, what?
that.
Because I thought it was such, and it was like this story that I had created around like, this is just how it's always going to be. And everybody in my world kind of had that same story of like, how do we, like the loans were just like super heavy. And I'm so grateful for the tools of access, because it just got me out of that mindset. And even though like I haven't quite like gone beyond the debt thing right now with that, it's like created my whole life in a different energy of like something I actually want to be like doing and being now. And like I've started a business and my business is doing really well. I talked to my accountant today and she's like, you made how much first quarter? And, and I was like, yeah, for half the work. How is it getting any better than that? So
well, and that's the thing, because it's one of the things that has changed my reality a lot with money and with debt is actually to get out of judgment of it, and because I've had debt and gotten out of it and had debt and gotten out of it. But one of the things that really kept it kind of like in place for me was the amount of judgment that I had, that of me for having debt and of debt you
Yeah.
know, and because it's like such a bad thing in this reality, and yet it's also like something that so many people have. It's like if you have a degree, you probably have debt, you probably have some sort of student loan or whatever. Um, and and it's this thing that people sort of carry around like a ball and chain, and you're like beholden to those to whom you are indebted,
Yeah.
and when you get out of that and you get out of the judgment of it and the wrongness of it and into the generativity that's possible with money, um, there's so much that changes. Just so much that changes. I mean, it's amazing, and I love that used your debt to be, a source for the creation of a different reality with money and greater income streams. I mean, that's amazing. Most people are like, I'll never make enough money. I watched my kids do that. I have two boys that are 13 and almost 16. And at one point when they were little, Jaden, my little one, he owed his brother Avery $20 or something like that. And he literally didn't want to make any money. Like he stopped his money flow, because I paid
Then you
him.
have to pay his brother back.
Yeah. And he said at one point, well, I don't want to make money because I just have to give it to Avery. And he literally stopped his money flows because he didn't want to have money come in that he had to turn around and give to his brother. And I went, wow, that is really interesting. How many people do that? Just like,
Yeah.
I don't want to make more money because I'm just going to give it to whoever.
Right. You're either going to have to give it back to the person you're in debt to. People are like, avoid paying taxes because it's like, oh, I don't want to make money because I don't want to pay taxes. Or,
Yeah,
you find like all these ways there. It's like, well, I don't want to have to like give up my money, but there's so many options to like create. So what if you created so much money that like paying whoever back doesn't even, it's like awesome. I don't owe them anything anymore. And now what can I create?
exactly. Exactly. And I remember sitting down to do my taxes a few years ago and I was like, I'd be willing for this to be a lot more complicated. Because I realized that there was some part I have an accountant, so I don't do my taxes, but I was getting them ready for my accountant, and I was like, wow, anywhere that I stop my money flows or my, like the complexity of my money because I don't want to deal with it, I was like, I'm going to let that one go because, it's okay if I have to gather more information to give my accountant, or like set up different systems or, like I just started investing in cryptocurrency and it's like, okay, so there's a different thing to track now or whatever, because you have to report, what it was when you bought it and what it was when you sell it. And so, but it's like, it's so wild, like all these little things that we do where we're like, well, I don't want to do that. I don't want to have to deal with that. I don't want to have to pay that. So I'll just keep my money where it is.
Wow. Yeah. And so with this getting out of debt joyfully class, is there like I know I've heard you say like and like we're talking about money and debt, but like I know I've heard you say that like you don't have to be in debt for this class to be a contribution, So like
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's a money class. It's sort of like it's a joy of business money class, and it's a 2.5 day class. We're going to be doing it over 4 days, so shorter chunks a day for 4 days. Um, but um, but it's also to me a class about receiving, because one of the things that I've looked at a lot with debt is, you can have financial debt, where you're like, you feel you owe people, you borrow money and you owe money. That's, standard. People get that. But how indebted do you make yourself to people in your life? How much, like, if somebody does you a favor, do you then have a sense that you owe them something, or you need to return it, or you need to reciprocate, or you can never say thank you enough, or so there's all these ways that we actually create the energy of debt in our lives. Even if you don't have financial debt and you don't owe somebody money, do you have freedom from the energy of debt in your life?
Wow.
And if you and for most of us, there's this, because if you're not willing to receive the like bounty that the universe can actually give you, and it's, in all kinds of different ways. It's financially, but it's also in, how things show up, and with other people or whatever. um but if you're not willing to receive the bounty of what's available to you, like just literally being gifted by the universe, however it shows up, then you will have the energy of debt somewhere in your life, where you don't want to receive, um, and because you stop the flow. You don't want to be like, I've noticed this for myself. Like if every once in a while, my partner Brian, he'll go, "I need you to do me a huge favor," and he'll make it really significant, you know, and then all of a sudden I just go, "Oh," like it's sort
Right.
of just like I'm like, "Oh fuck."
Because it now
You
feels
know,
like an obligation.
yeah, you know? And it's so interesting how we do this with people, and we do it with ourselves, and all this like tit for tat and sort of hedging and calculating and computing.
Yeah.
And what if getting out of debt joyfully was actually not having that energy in your life at all? Like
Oh,
really being willing to receive, being willing to gift, and not tracking it like Macy is saying in the chat. It's a hassle to keep track of who to pay back.
wow.
You
Yeah.
know? It's like, what if you don't have to?
Wow. It makes me think of like at Christmas time, like somebody will give you a gift and you'll be like, oh, I didn't know they were going to give me a gift. Now I got to get them a gift, like that energy.
Totally. That is such a great analogy. It's so true, where you're just like, "Oh, shit. How can I get them a gift without them knowing that I didn't get them a gift?" Like, "Can I get something for them real quick?" You know?
Right.
But what if you were actually willing to just go, "That is so kind of you. Thank you so
Yeah.
much."
Yeah.
And actually, like, sit with the discomfort of not, like, having anything to reciprocate?
Yeah. Wow. And that's like so like just all the ways that like we judge ourselves around all of that, like, oh, I'm wrong because I didn't think to do that, or oh, I'm wrong because I owe this person, or I don't, just like all the ways we make ourselves like smaller or like less than other people. And like that's what you're talking about, that like that feeling indebted to other people, which like is that's such an like an energy more than I guess like I even realized till this conversation.
Yeah. Yeah. Facebook user is saying, "This is so up in my world right now. We can't tell who you are." You have to give StreamYard permission to use your name. Um, but yeah, it is so insidious. And the beauty of it is that when you start to explore this whole world is also where you increase your money flows. So, to kind of, it sort of circles back around full. Oh, it's funny. Macy, we see you as Macy and as Facebook user. Okay. Anyway, but it circles back around because if you're willing to sit with a level of receiving that is actually creates discomfort in your world, you actually, this is the one of the most direct ways that you increase your receiving of money.
Wow.
It's
Yeah.
one of the, and I would say, like, and we both have stories of, exponential income growth. And it's like, I remember doing the math in the first 5 years of my business, when I was my access consciousness business, using the tools of access consciousness for creating my business. I remember running the numbers. I was like, oh my God, my income grew an average of 57% per year for 5 years straight.
That's
And
amazing.
yeah, I mean, and that's like, you're not like, that's like something's wrong or illegal or, it's like, you're not supposed to do that,
Uh,
and and that it's interesting because that's part of, how the world sees that kind of like,
yes.
it's like, well, it's going to crash or whatever. And it never has. Like, it's never,
Wow.
I've had years since then where it kind of flattened out a little bit or whatever, but then then it'll grow. And, um, but, um, but I will say that the way that I created that more than anything was by being committed to increasing my receiving.
Wow. Wow. That's so amazing. Well, it's so beyond this reality to grow your business at that rate and to make that much money. And I've realized, at least for me, like the times that I've like put a ceiling on myself or like brought my, like, oh, like I can't be this magical, or like where you like wait for the other shoe to drop, or like you're like, well, it can't, it's too good to be true. Like all the ways that like, like it's just so different. And so it's like this willingness to be that different, to have a level of receiving that is like so like arrogant in this reality.
Yeah. And it really is, it's arrogant and it's controversial and it's, where you're like, everybody else could look at you as, like receiving in a way that's not fair, or you have a charmed life or whatever, and you should surely pay that back, but here's where you get into the debt thing. It's like, well, you need to give back, you need to give back, and you need to like share all that money that you have, or you need to make up for it or whatever, there's all these ways that we what's the word for it? It's like, modulate. We modulate our receiving and our money flows, and based on like where we decide we need to like, make up for the unfairness of it all, or make up for, whatever it is. And it's like, what if you truly didn't actually have to do that? And you didn't create the energy of debt in your own life, in your own story. Um, And yeah, oh, someone says there's the point of view that rich people had to step on people to get where they are. Exactly.
Yeah.
And you'll get those projections. Like the more money you have in your life, you will have all of those projections and all of those rejections and all of those judgments thrown at you that your Althea is unfairly fabulous. I love it.
I love it. I
You
can't.
go, girl. But it comes with like having that kind of receiving and that kind of money flow it comes with a lot of judgments. And people will not like you and da, 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 but that's also part of receiving, it's going, okay, that's okay. You don't have to like me.
Yeah. Wow. Would be willing to be that like controversial to like receive the judgment. I remember when we were now it's like a year ago when we were at COP with Brendan, he said something like he was like in this like gorgeous suit, but like super like, I don't know the word I want, but creative, loud, and he was like, I need to go walk the streets of Denver so I can get judged and make some money for a little while. I was like, oh my God, I love that.
Yeah. And that's just having fun with it, having fun with because so many of us try to duck or avoid or whatever, get out of those, moments, those situations. And it's like, just to be like, how about I turn it up?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love that being willing to receive everything and all the energies, like judgment and everything else.
Envy is a huge one. Huge one. We will stop our money flows because we don't want to be envied for the money that we create and the money that comes in. Irene says, how about receiving the contribution we be and wealth and money creation? Well, yeah, I mean, so it's all part of receiving. Receiving is very much about receiving you, receiving the gift that you be in the world. And again, like, whoa, that's arrogant, that's self-centered, that's, um, but it's like when you're willing to be that and you're willing to acknowledge you and the difference that you be and the gift that you be, um, what can show up in your life is really, really cool. And so we titled this "What's Beyond Your Money Story." It's like, what if your money story, because you can have, like we talk about, like, okay, Simone Milasas, her money story was, having $187,000 of debt and getting out of it really quickly, um, and so that's still part of her money story, but she's gone way beyond that too, and like really created so much wealth. And the way she is with money is really inspiring and beautiful. um, and uh, and so it's like, what if you can continue to sort of write the story, without making it significant or like buying it, but like, it's like, yeah, I multiply my income by 57% every year for 5 years. That's part of my money story, and it's like, cool. And what else and what more,
Yeah.
what else and what more, what else and what more. And this is also where your money story starts to be like, for me, my money story is so much more now about, um, like having peace and ease with money, no matter what,
Yeah.
than like a dollar amount or a percentage of growth it's like having peace and ease with money, no matter what's going on with my money flows. They're high, they're low, whatever. There's a sense of peace and ease there,
Yeah. Well, it's so much about choice, being willing to choose to, like, no matter what it takes, I'm going to have ease, you know?
Absolutely.
Wow.
Absolutely. No matter what it takes, no matter if I'm in debt or not in debt, or owing people or not owing people, or have money or don't have money, it's like the choice to not have it be something that rules your life, is very beyond this reality. And it also then fosters more money coming into your world, because you're just like, yeah, I like you, money. You're not significant. I don't need you. I don't hate you. I just appreciate you when you're here and have fun with you. And then money's like, oh,
Welcome, say.
yeah, I gotta come to your party.
Oh my God. I love it. Well, it's so funny because you were talking about, like, when Brian was like, oh, I have this favor I need. And that, like, makes you like retreat. But like money is the same way when you're like, I need you, money's like, I don't want to be around you.
Yeah. I'm good, really. I'm gonna go over here where they just don't need me, but they like me,
Right. Oh,
And Samantha is asking, how do you stay in ease when it's so heavy? Well, I would say there's so many tools. I mean, this is where you want to read the book Getting Out of Debt Joyfully. Read the book Money Isn't the Problem, You Are. Like, do the How to Become Money workbook and access. Like, there's just it's like immerse yourself in the money tools, because that's a huge part of what gets it to change rapidly. And I've read all of those, and I've done the money workbooks many, many times. And I mean, there's a lot that we could say that's kind of beyond the scope of this, but commit to the peace and ease. Even if you can't quite get to it now, commit to that as your reality and move in the direction of that every single day. Like, don't buy your own shit, because it's really easy to buy what everybody else out there is selling about money. What would you like to create with it?
Oh. Yeah.
Yeah. And come take the class.
Fun. I'm so excited about it.
Me too. Me too. It's the first time I'm doing it. So Getting Out of Debt Joyfully. And like we said, you don't have to be in debt to take the class or to benefit from the class. It's really about changing all these energies, and receiving you, and having this sense of like, with you, like, boom, got my own back, in ways that most people aren't willing to have. And so yeah, so we start on Monday, Monday through Thursday of next week. And it's going to be epic. There's a manual. It's such a freaking cool class. I'm really looking forward to it. So yeah.
Yeah. I just started looking through the manual like before we did this, and I was like, oh my God, so excited.
Yeah,
So good.
yeah, it's a brilliant class. It's really a game changer. So y'all can go to, I think it's heathernichols.com/out of debt. Is that what it is? The link? Yeah. If you want to sign up or come and play, that's where you can go to do that. And yeah, gonna be fun.
Yeah.
So thanks everybody for being here. Thanks, Melissa. What a fun conversation. I wonder where else we're gonna go.
Thank you.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. Have a great night or whatever, morning or day, everybody. And we'll see you soon. Bye.